The choice of a running mate, the religious balancing of a running mate, the fence mending issue and the internal party healing are some of the major issues that is confronting, that will confront Bola Tinubu. Compensation and incompensation, because there are some people who step down, who have lost it, but they need to be compensated. Some need to be recompensed on whatever they have done. Party cohesion and assigning role, aside that, Tinubu will have to consider some factors that will determine who he picks as running mate. He may even have to pander to Buhari's preference. A governor's role in campaign makes them a go-to, so he needs to consult the governors, and there are even strong signals that he might even be picking from the governors. Well, the governors will come up with a short list of nominations. They've met with the president today. Maybe they discussed that. The Flabra will consider eventually Buhari's choice, from what we understand, that he will give that preference to President Muhammadu Buhari for final nominations. Well, the time is ticking, and he has just little time to do all of that. But take a look at those names that have come up as far as the possibility of Bola Tinubu's running mate. There talks about the governor of Borno State, Babangana Zulum. In fact, his predecessor is also in the running for these, Senator Kashim Shettima and Governor Simon Lalong. But in all of this, there are those who think that it might be a Muslim ticket. If Tinubu or the APC wants to win the election, they are thinking that it needs to go for a Muslim northerner, because that has been a major factor. Now, in the PDP, there's also the issue that the Southeasterners are saying you have to pick from the Southeast. And Governor Wike of Rivers State and Governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi are one of those who are in the front in all of this conversation. Now, why has the running mate matter become a major factor? Before these men and women emerged as the candidate of their different political parties, there are a lot of talks. Now, running mate has brought this debate to the front burner. So why has religion and ethnicity played so much of this factor, especially in the northern region of the country? Let's take a look at some of these issues. And I'm being joined tonight by the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And I have Mr. Daniel Bwala, who is a member of the APC, a lawyer, and a member of the Lincoln team. Thank you so much, Mr. Bwala, for coming.
Thank you.
Interestingly, Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed is a Muslim. Mr. Daniel Bwala is a Christian from Borno State.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation it will turn out to be. From your own perspective, you've been a civil servant for several years, Dr. Ahmed. You've been in the National Assembly as a technical advisor and, to a former Senate president. So you understand a lot of issues. Give me your understanding of how or what role the issue of religion is playing. Can a Muslim ticket or a Christian ticket fly in Nigeria of today? The U wing of the Christian Association yesterday won and said, look, if anybody does a Christian ticket or Muslim ticket, that party will fail. What are your views?
Well, I think there's a lot of deception here, which has gathered momentum as politicians began to learn more and more of the weaknesses of ordinary Nigerians. 99% of us as ordinary Nigerians are devout Christians and Muslims. We care very deeply about personal faith. We care about the fortunes of our faith. We don't like to be attacked or affected because we are Christians or Muslims. And by and large, in most instances, our faith is safe. Politicians use faith and other forms of identity politics to race for power. This is basically what it is. And it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer that every time politics comes in, religion surfaces as a factor. And what it does is it creates this idea that Nigerians will fight because the deputy, the vice president is not a Christian or a Muslim. We won't. We will not fight because if you go back to, go down in history, there is not a single thing that any Christian has benefited from the times when either a Christian was a president or a Christian was a vice president. There's nothing that a Muslim has benefited from because the president is a Muslim or he's a deputy, he's vice president. But when you hear them talk now, it's as if it's central to your being a Muslim or being a Christian. If your so-called man is not in the presidency, it's nonsense. It's the most deceptive thing politicians do, and what is even more damaging is that they're making it worse now, at precisely the time when we need to have quality leadership. Good people emerge, irrespective of their faith, who would govern this country and pull it out of this, the quagmire that we're in. Politicians are bringing in all these factors that are specifically targeted at giving them, the few of them, certain advantages. That's basically what it is. Like I said, Christianity does not suffer because the Christian is not, because the president is not a Christian. President Buhari has not done a single thing that has benefited a single Muslim in the last 7 years. For the entire 8 years that Obasanjo was president, not a single thing was done. And I was part of his government. I was a permanent secretary for the entire period there. I didn't see a single thing that he did that you could say specifically benefited the Christians of Nigeria. I didn't see that. And it's the same thing with all the way through. And now you hear these people talk, it has to be a Muslim ticket. The ordinary Nigerian doesn't care. That is the honest truth. Well, I'm telling you, I come from the Northwest. The Northwest is being targeted as the most populous zone, but you must get the religious balance right, you must get this right, and you must get right. And I'm telling you, I have a political party. I'm a member of the PRP. Do you know what the ordinary delegates that we got together in 3,700 people to choose who was going to fly our flag? You know who our flag is, Sean? Who our Kola Abiola, yeah. Do you know how he emerged? We just simply asked ordinary folks who were delegates, 4 from each local government. Who do you want out of these 4 people? Some of them, I mean, most of them, excellent people. Who do you want to fly the flag? The bulk of the people are from the north. Majority are Muslims. They chose a Yoruba man from Ogun State on their own. So the politicians are playing a game with the faith and the intelligence and the future of our people.
But in truth, Dr. Akim Babaman, can you jettison or look away from religious balance in this country?
Absolutely.
Has it not been a major factor in determining?
It becomes a factor only during elections.
So those who are considering it are not lying to themselves, are they?
Well, if religion was such a dominant factor in terms of how Muslims and Christians live all the time, we'll be fighting each other every single day. Because every single day we'll be fighting over, I didn't get anything because I'm a Muslim. We come from the north. My brother here and I come from the north. He's Christian, I'm a Muslim. Every once in a while we have clashes. Sometimes a lot of these clashes that you see are between communities that are either entirely Christian or sometimes Muslim. Sometimes in a few instances like we've seen in the last few days in Adamawa, in Gombe, in Bauchi, they involve Muslims and Christians. If you go down to the bottom of it, it has nothing to do with the church or the mosque. It has to do with some communal issues.
Let me bring in Mr. Babwala.
All right.
You are a member of the APC.
Right.
How much of effect does the issue of religion balancing does for your party, or is for your party?
Well, one thing is that a political party can choose a path to winning election. And howsoever they choose, it might be their best strategy for doing that. And that path that they choose may not reflect the true spirit and intent of the Constitution. That is what is called national objective, which was formulated immediately after the Civil War. The idea behind the national objective is to reflect the true spirit of the Constitution so that there will be a reflection of inclusiveness, diversity, sense of belonging. And the idea behind that is so that every part of Nigeria, everybody will feel this is our own. That's why when you hear politicians talking, they will say, this country belongs to all of us. Why is the mention of that? Because it is meant to reflect the spirit and intent of the Constitution. Now, when you talk about competence and you try to make the case that it overrides some of these other considerations like religion. You can pick one tribe in Nigeria, and from that tribe you can get competent people and appoint president, vice president, senate president, deputy senate president, speaker, deputy, and all the DGs or parastatal in that one tribe, and they will be competent and they will rule the country effectively. But does that reflect the spirit of the Constitution? Now, when you bring it down to our political party, you see, political parties are a vehicle through which power is attained for the purposes of implementing the Constitution. There are certain things that are not expressly mentioned in the Constitution, but they are the reflection of the spirit of the Constitution. Above all is diversity, inclusiveness, cohesion, national integration, and a sense of belonging by everyone. It is not to be said, it must be seen to be in effect by the common man of the society. So how do I bring it to our party? I did a video immediately after Asiwaju emerged as the flag bearer. And in that video, I made clear my position or opinion regarding the Muslim ticket and Muslim Christian. And I laid the background that, for example, now the vice president is coming from the north. Most likely the party may move it to the northeast. But the north is one, but consists of tribes and religion. Now, because the presidential candidate is from the south and a Muslim, historically in Nigeria, it is only necessary that the vice presidential candidate should be a Christian. So some people make the case that it doesn't really matter. And some even make the case that, look, if you take a Christian, we will not win election. Sadly enough, those who advocate that are stakeholders that are supposed to promote that and then put their heads and their hearts to make sure it works. Because it happened just 2 weeks ago when the party chairman said, I make a determination, this is the consensus candidate. And the party, they say party is supreme. But governors came together and said, no, we don't believe in that. For the purposes of cohesion, it has to go to the south. And they made clear, they talked about fairness, equity, and justice. Why did they do that? They are trying to reflect the spirit of the Constitution, even though it is not in the Constitution. So it behoves of the same set of people to look inward, and now that it affects their own region, to say, we should even show that charity much more at home. Let me tell you something, if you don't mind. Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardona of Sokoto, was the father of the northernization philosophy and agenda. And he built that philosophy and agenda on the notion that a northerner, irrespective of his religion, tribe, is a northerner and has access to equal opportunity with others for the purposes of shared prosperity. During his time, he demonstrated that in leadership, there was no distinction between Christians and Muslims, Sardona. And that is why around the time, the North, even the British government, could reckon with that. Over a period of time, this philosophy got diluted by politicians because of selfish interest. So much so that now there is a division. That, for example, Bwala will be needed to pursue the course of the Northern agenda. But when it comes to sharing of equal opportunity, then my brothers in the North will say, Bwala, whether expressly or impliedly, you can get it because it's a game of numbers. I expect that the governors are the ones that will say, look, for equality, for equity, it should be a Northern Christian, and we will be on the field.
All right, so
to convince the people.
So you don't agree with a Muslim ticket?
I do not agree, but let me make the point. The decision of the vice presidential candidate is absolute with the presidential candidate. Nobody can change his decision. And the choice of who he chooses is discretionary.
But can the party prevail upon him?
No, the party can suggest, but the discretion is absolutely his own. But what happened is that now everybody is engaging. We're all providing facts and information that will help him in making a decision. And in fact, in my view, it is not so much of Asiwaju because he has demonstrated diversity all through his life. Look at Lagos, his wife is a pastor. He doesn't have that problem. If my northern leaders say this is a Christian candidate, Asiwaju will recommend that you take him, he will take him. And that is why, in my view, Mr. President, who has in 2014 unequivocally said, Muslim ticket cannot work. This is the time for him to balance.
So let me ask you, I asked a direct question to Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed. Can, in Nigeria of today, can a Christian northerner win an election for your party?
He can win if the northern Muslims agree with the vision and go to fight for him on the basis of equality, fairness, and inclusiveness.
So let me come back to Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed. Now, The PDP, for example, used this narrative and they said, look, we want to win election. And perhaps the reason why they didn't go to the south and they went to the north to pick Atiku Abubakar. And so that narrative, of course, is coming to the APC now to say, look, we want to win election. And that's why we may not reckon there are some of those who believe in the APC that religion should not be an issue. So I'd like you to give your understanding of what is happening. And perhaps let me ask you this direct question too. In Nigeria of today, can a Christian northerner win an election for a party like the APC, for example, who has a Muslim southerner?
Well, I don't see why not. See, there are many factors at play. I understand that we're focusing on faith now, because what is playing out is the identity politics, ethnicity, your identity, you know, whether you're northern or southern, and you're focusing on these two parties. There's a lot going on beyond these two parties. And there's a lot of lesson to learn from the way people live. I'm telling you, ordinary Nigerians do not consider the faith of leaders now as central to the way they exist. We've been taught some terrible lessons from recent leaders who may have benefited from religious politics but have abandoned the people with whom they share the same faith. And I think people are wiser now. Now, you ask a question, can a Christian northerner become a president? The North doesn't belong to Muslims. It belongs to Muslims and Christians. And if a political party is willing to field a northerner because it believes he's the most competent person to become to get a ticket, why not? In my state, in Kaduna State, let me remind you that we had a governor who won an election, and the Christian population is in a minority. The late Yekowa, he was voted as a governor in Kaduna. He's from southern Kaduna State. He became a governor. He died in a plane accident. You know, you remember that. So, and Kaduna is the front line of all the religious conflicts that we've had.
But would you support a Christian ticket?
Yes, why not? Look, I will only ask question. Yeah. I will only ask one question. Your faith is your faith. You're not going to bring it into the office. And this is the point. Your faith, I want to see you as the president, not as a Christian first and a president second. You will not bring that office, your faith through the office. That means, like my brother here says, you will run a government based on justice and fairness and on constitutionalism, and you'll be fair to everybody. Why not? I don't understand why Pastor Vice President Osibanjo was 7 years in the villa has not. I haven't seen anybody said I got an advantage as a Christian because I had a senior pastor of the Redeemed Church who was the vice president of Nigeria. I haven't seen that.
Perhaps one of the, and you might wish to come into these, there are perceptions about annihilation or humiliation or attacks on the Christian faith in some part of the country. Perhaps it has risen the tension on that tolerance level in the country, and perhaps that's the reason why some would say in the Nigeria of today, if we are sensitive, that the sensitivities are to be considered in religion, in our ethnicity, and in all of our political interplays. All of these things are to be considered. I mean, isn't that reasonable?
Can I just ask a question before my brother responds? All the conflict, all the attacks, there have been attacks on the communities. Communities that are in a minority setting have been attacked. We have had instances where people have been vulnerable, they've been exposed, they've been attacked. What does that have to do with faith? Will those attacks cease because somebody of a particular faith is a vice president or a president? That is a fundamental problem in the country about managing pluralism that cannot be assuaged because one person has been made a vice president because he's a Christian, or another person has become a Muslim because he... This is a game that is being played by an elite that has identified faith as a decisive weapon for fighting each other. The people who have died, the lady who died with the 4 children a few weeks who was murdered a few weeks ago in the southeast. The pregnant woman with 4 children who was slaughtered in the southeastern part of the country. She didn't die because Buhari is the president. Maybe the people who killed her there just killed her because she was
those who bring up the issue of Deborah.
Right.
Exactly.
And there is another person in Abuja here. And these are recent issues that have brought concern to people. And we cannot ignore these kind of issues.
The problem is leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Followers go as far as leaders can go. And that's why I made the case from the beginning that if my northern leaders who came together and say for equity's sake that it should be zoned to the south, come together to say for equity's sake, a Christian candidate from the north should be the vice presidential candidate. It means they will back what they say by talking to the people who follow them. Some of this, and I agree with Dr. Ahmed, most of the crises you see around, they are not so much of faith. They are more of communal issues, interest, insurgency, and then politicians also feed on them. And that is why, in my view, responsibility calls for people who hold certain positions to act. Like, I am not under the illusion that because people are agitating, the party will definitely get to pick Muslim and Christian. No. Mine is to provide my perspective in the hope that the party will consider informing their decision. Because if you believe in me over the years to support the government, to support the party, to defend the government, and at this time you say I should shut my mouth and not express my opinion regarding this matter that I feel is important to my constituency where I come from, then I don't think you're being fair.
All right. The conversation around the sensitivities of our polity and how we need to move forward. Now, in conclusion on this conversation is to the fact that numbers matter a lot in our politics. If you want to win an election, you need to look at the numbers. And you look at the northwest region of the country, you look at the southwest of the country, you consider the northeast of the country, you consider the south, and all of that. Now, the question is, and I'm not saying this because I know you have your party leanings, but I'd like to ask, how tough do you think this election, this particular cycle will be?
I think that it's going to be a lot less tougher than people think. I think the political consciousness is high, has been quite possibly highest I have seen since I became an adult. The 2023 will be a landmark election where the ordinary people will make the difference. And they will make, I think that they will make a choice based on their experiences. They will defy expectations. They will make nonsense of a lot of the permutations that are going on. The kind of things that politicians are putting store in will be ignored. I think that insecurity, poverty, divisions in the country are going to become major issues that people are going to vote on. And if I was to advise one single politician who is looking for office, I would say be very careful. Don't play to the wrong gallery. Pay attention to how ordinary people feel. They feel abandoned by leadership. They feel angry that they have been abandoned to violence. And they will vote for people, not so much for parties. They will vote for competence, not for faith or for your language. They will vote for a future for their children and not for the traditions of the party. That's my advice to that. And for the next leadership, they need to understand that this election, this 2023 election, will actually make a difference on whether the country survives entirely or goes down entirely.
Mr. Boala, you think this is a make or ma, this election?
Well, analytics have actually analyzed, based on the dynamics we have on ground, that the first election may not present a clear winner in the first ballot. That it may call for a run. Because if you look at Kwankwaso dimension and Peter Obi dimension, then it is very likely that no political party will win and also secure all the 24. That's why some of us are giving our opinion that we believe is very important for the party so that in one strike you win. You don't have to call for a recall, because if there is a recall, if there is a rerun, then this political party's alliance might be a problem for our party.
And there was a very, someone who challenged your candidate yesterday very strongly on the program here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you watch that?
Yes, Dino Melaye. You know, he's comedic. And I think that he enjoys what he does. But those who watch, they know what is there or not. I was even surprised, quite frankly, that instead of focusing on issues, he was talking about personality. You are going to see the difference in this current dispensation in the electioneering campaign with the previous one. The two people on the two major political parties are Democrats, and they respect each other. So it's going to be an issue-based campaign where the progressive ideology of APC that believe in strong middle class, raising the taxes, providing safety net for the people, will be sold to the Nigerian people against PDP's belief that a free market economy with strong entrepreneurship is what will create jobs. We are going to educate the people, and I'm hopeful that the media also will help, rather than people coming to the TV to say Asiwaju is 80 years, Asiwaju is not healthy, and then the other political
Can you take
party,
that away? Because the fact remains that the personalities and their capacity and fitness for office will also be challenged.
Fitness for office is there in the Constitution. Until and unless you have incapacity of the body of the mind, you are eligible. It's a mundane argument. And these people who come to argue, they may even have medical condition. Who know they fall sick?
In English. I'm saying what is, I'm asking, I mean, you just spoken pidgin English.
Yes, what I'm saying is, as you are sitting, asking me a question, you can fall sick. Dr. Ahmed can fall sick, I can fall sick. Do you understand? Asiwaju, in the last how many months, I have met him. Around 2-something a.m., we were talking on an important issue. He was looking vibrant and strong. This man has traversed the length and breadth of this country not long after he had the knee surgery. And some senile people are talking about that he doesn't have health to become president.
You know, Mr. Boala, you have to forgive people up to a point. This country has paid tremendously from the illnesses, unfortunate illnesses of President Buhari.
But he was not sick when he got into office.
I understand that. But now they will learn a lesson. If you give them a candidate who is 55 or 60, and they look at a 75-year-old man, you have to forgive ordinary Nigerians if they say, we want our president in the villa, not all the time flying out of the country.
The skepticism is coming from somewhere. It has a history.
Yes, and it is informed by experience. That is why I'm saying, be very careful. A clever politician will be very, very careful about not recreating the circumstances under which we live. And these two major parties, unfortunately, maybe they realize it, maybe they don't. They are just simply
Certainly the 2023 election is not going to be a relay, boxing, wrestling, or football. It is a game of the intellect, ideas, and how you can deploy those ideas and create good governance.
And hopefully it should be a completely different game that does not reinvent the leadership that is just leaving.
We will ensure that.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been a very interesting conversation tonight.
Yes,
Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed, thank you so much.
You
and
very
Mr.
much.
Daniel Boala.
Thank you, sir.
What a civil conversation we've had tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.